Hello CS112, today we will be going over Lab 11, Celsius to Fahrenheit, which had to do with file I/O. So here are the assumptions. I just paraphrased them a little bit, so let's just dive right into it. Input.text is some numbers separated by a space. It gives you the conversion of how to convert to Fahrenheit given a Celsius degree. You can assume that there is an input text in the same directory as your code, and Celsius to Fahrenheit has one parameter, your input file. Now, you can assume that it's in your code, this file right here, but in order to test your code, you actually have to create one. You have to manually create one and place it in the same directory. As you can see here, I just completely copied the exact format of the input file provided on the PDF, and then I placed both my Python file, bananas, and my text file input into the same directory or folder here. So now they'll be able to work together. And as you can see, I also pasted the output here from the PDF, and the formatting is not only different from the input, but it also has second values here of the converted Fahrenheit. Now, something to keep in mind is that these are floats, right? The Fahrenheit output is floats. I just wanted to point that out. So let's just dive right into it. If for those of you who have already worked on this week's programming assignment, this should be pretty straightforward. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to be reading from the input file so we can write to our output file. So let's put inp for our input file. I'm going to open inputs file, or actually, yeah, that's our parameter name, input file. That's what we're going to be given. And I want to write to this file, or read this file, so I'm going to use R. Now I want to also make an output file, because that's what we're going to be returning, or not returning at the end, but creating at the end. So I'm going to open, we're going to call it output.txt, and we are going to be writing to this file. So that's a W. I'm going to put a comment here to the side real quick. Outputs.text does not exist. So this line right here, if this does not exist in the current directory you're working in, it will actually create a text file for you, and you can start writing to it. So that means once we're finished here and we're testing our code, in this directory right here, a new file should pop up called output. So, right off the bat, we knew that our output has this header right here, right? Celsius to Fahrenheit, and that's something also our input has. It has a header right here, and that might cause some complications, but there are very easy ways to work around this. A lot of you guys were getting a bit tripped up, like, oh, I know how to, like, from this file, I know how to start calculating once I reach these numbers, but this part right here is gonna mess me up because that's not a number. So right off the bat, for our output file, something I thought was just pretty straightforward and easy was to just straight up write to the file our expected header. So I'm just going to copy and paste it right here. It's the very first thing I'm going to do is just copy and paste it here, of course, in parentheses to make it a string, along with a new line character. So you can see this is a slightly different color because this is invisible to the output. All it does is just makes a new line here. If this wasn't given, then the formatting would be all jazzed up, and we don't want that. So the next thing I want to do, and this is actually another sort of tricky way to get around this line right here in our input file. So you can see we're working with our output file here. I want to get away from this Celsius. I just want to start working with numbers directly. So what I'm going to do is pretty much pretty similar to the line above, where I'm just going to say inp, which is my input file, and I'm going to say read line. Now, I'm not doing anything with read line. I'm simply reading this line, getting it out of my system so I can start working with numbers right away. And now I'm going to create a new variable called Celsius temps and set that equal to imp.readline. Now that so I already called imp.readline. So now when the computer's reading this, it has already read line 1, and now it is waiting to read line 2. So now I've set a variable equal to read line again, but this time read line is going to be all my numerical values that I need to do perform computations with. And last but not least, in order to create create sort of an iterable object to make my computations like faster, more efficient, I'm going to say, like, let's say data equals Celsius temps dot split. And I'm going to split by the spaces because we already know that this is going to just be a list of separated by spaces of these numerical values. So now let's create a for loop to iterate through this all, and let's get our get our format. Let's get our output going. So for num in data, that's what I'm going to say because I'm just iterating through data right now. In fact, let's go ahead and print what data is so we can understand what's happening here. Some of you were a bit tripped up on what read lines and stuff like that does, but like you guys should really try to get this down. Also, you guys need to call this actual function. Some of you guys just weren't, and I don't know why, but you guys were just hitting the run button up here without actually calling this with a specific file here, and you need to do that. This is just like a regular definition. So I have a syntax error because I cannot spell. All right, now let's try that one more time. So as you can see here, it printed out my data right here. And each of these are strings, so we need to keep that in mind so we don't accidentally mess up our computations. We are going to have to convert that to an int before we do anything, but I have already, where am I printing read line? Or I'm printing data here. So let me print out Celsius temps as well. So just so we can see the difference of what just happens. What am I doing? So let's see here. Right now, Celsius temps, it's just a line. It's literally this line right here from our input text. As you can see, output text was actually already created, but that's it's going to be empty right now because we have only written the title into it. So I'm just going to delete it real quick. So now, as you can see here, our Celsius temps, which is just the second line of our input file because we already read the first line, is this. It's just, as the assumption said, numbers separated by a space. So now I've split it by the space, so now it became a list, an iterable object, separated by commas of every single data value we need. So let us get rid of these print statements and start with our actual code. Well, we have encoding, but our actual computations. So for num in data, because data is our iterable object, we already have Celsius temps, so let's create a Fahrenheit. I think that's how you spell it. Let's create Fahrenheit temps, because that's what our thing is. So now num is going to be each one of these values here. So I want to take the floats of num. I chose float, but their int would be fine too because all of our inputs are ints, but I just wanted to make it work for, any type. If we were given, let's say, more data, like let's say 13.4 Celsius or something like that, I just wanted to make it work for everything. So I'm just going to use the same exact equation we were given up here. So I'm going to take that num, I'm going to multiply it by 9/5. I'm actually going to pile on a bunch of parentheses here just so I make sure that my computations are nice and secure. I believe that's the correct amount. And then last but not least, you add 32. And now you need to write to your file, output file. So I'm actually going to create a write variable with every iteration with exactly what I need to. As you can see here, the first thing in our numerical output is this the Celsius. So all I need to do, the very first thing I'm going to be writing to is num, right? Because num is our iterable object here. So num, and it's already in the format of a string. So that's actually very helpful to us when writing to a file. Next, I need to do a comma because they're comma separated. And then last but not least, I need to make Fahrenheit temps a string so I can actually write to this file. So Fahrenheit temps to a string so I can write to this file. And then we need a new line character so we can have all these data points on a new line. And then, of course, we need to actually physically write to the file. So I'm going to write to my file. All right, now The very important thing, which you guys should actually do right away, is just close your files, because it will cause you a lot of pain trying to debug your code if you don't even realize that you haven't closed your files. So I've gone through that myself. So let's go ahead and test this bad boy. I'm gonna kill this terminal real quick and hit run again. So as you can see, as soon as I hit run, output.txt popped up here. And as you can see, I got the correct output. These right here are just Python rounding errors. I wouldn't worry about those. They didn't really say that you had to be specific with your rounding, so this should be okay, but these values do match up pretty darn well, if I say so myself. Like, this is supposed to be 15.4, but it came out as that. But yeah, I want to show you that again. So again, this line right here, I'm just going to delete this real quick. This line right here, it will create an output.txt if it's not already created. If you try to open a file that's not actually in your directory, it will create it. As you can see, when I ran this terminal, keep your eye over here, as soon as I hit run, it popped up. It created a text file with the proper formatting that I did below this code. But that also means that, let's say this input file here, you were trying to open that, if you misspelled it, like let's say this file already existed, input.txt, and you were trying to open it, but you did with a capital I, it will create a new file with a capital I input, but you wouldn't be able to read anything out of it. So keep in mind, like all of computer science, it's very, very articulate, and you got to keep your mind out for that. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you.